16 personality factors according to Cattell. Raymond Bernard Cattell was born in 1905 in England. He was an exceptionally bright student, winning scholarships throughout. He graduated from King's College in chemistry with a first class and honors. Then he shifted to psychology. In Cattell's own words, my laboratory bench began to seem small and the world's problems vast. Cattell was very productive in his research. Using the methodology of factor analysis, Cattell identified 16 personality factors. I shall give these factors in a certain order, which is helpful to remember using mnemonics so that it will help students who are writing exams. First one, warmth. A person with a high score of warmth is warm and outgoing, whereas a person with a low score of warmth is reserved, detached, and not very outgoing. Next, intelligence. A person with a high score of intelligence is bright and capable of handling abstract problems, whereas someone with a low score of intelligence is dull and incapable of handling abstract problems. Next, dominance. A person with a high score of dominance is assertive, forceful, and dominant, whereas someone with a low score of dominance is compliant, avoiding conflicts, more a follower than a leader. Next, emotional stability. A person with a high score of emotional stability is stable emotionally and capable of withstanding difficult situations, whereas someone with a low score of emotional stability is prone to be disturbed by feelings and emotions. Next, privateness. A person with a high score of privateness is non-disclosing of personal matters and discreet, whereas a person with a low score of privateness is more forthright, open, and sometimes artless. Next, abstractedness. A person with a high score of abstractedness is abstract, imaginative, and creative, whereas someone who is having a low score of abstractedness is more grounded and practical. Next, social boldness. A person with a high score of social boldness is very bold and venturesome, whereas someone with a low score of social boldness is shy, timid, and hesitant. Next, sensitivity. A person with a high score of sensitivity is sensitive and refined, whereas someone with a low score of sensitivity is not capable of understanding the fine aspects of things, a little cold perhaps. Next, perfectionism. A person with a high score of perfectionism is organized and disciplined, whereas someone with a low score of perfectionism is more or less careless and undisciplined. A person with a next apprehensiveness. A person with a high score of apprehensiveness is self-doubting and worried, whereas someone with a low score of apprehensiveness is confident and self-assured. Next, self-reliance. A person with a high score of self-reliance is self-reliant, self-sufficient, individualistic, and sometimes solitary. Whereas someone with a low score of self-reliance prefers group-oriented activities and is dependent on others. Next, tension. Someone with a high score of tension is tense, impatient, and sometimes frustrated. Whereas someone with a low score of tension is very relaxed, tranquil, calm, and peaceful. Next, liveliness. A person with a high score of liveliness is spontaneous and energetic, whereas someone with a low score of liveliness is more serious and taciturn. Next, openness to change. A person with a high score of openness to change is liberal, experimental, and very open to change. Whereas someone who has a low score of openness to change is a traditional and conventional person. Next, vigilance. Someone with a high score of vigilance is skeptical and suspicious and not trustworthy, not trusting. Whereas someone with a low score of vigilance is very trusting and unquestioning and unsuspecting. Next, rule consciousness or consciousness. A conscientious person or a rule conscious person adheres to rules, is more moralistic, whereas someone who is not so conscientious does not adhere so much to rules and values. He is more expedient. The mnemonics you can use to remember these 16 personality factors are: first, WIDE, wide, that is warmth, intelligence, dominance, and emotional stability. Then the word PASS, PASS, for privateness, abstractedness, social boldness, and sensitivity. Next, the word PAST for perfectionism, apprehensiveness, self-reliance, and tension. Next, love. L for lively, O for openness to change, V for vigilance, and the last E for expedient.